Okay, we're finishing, we're going to continue with looking at the conditional statements. And I've done some pre-work here because I didn't want to spend a lot of time working with words. So I've divided some of these passages up, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the conditionals. I'll show you how to do this in verse 6. Essentially, you find in your, I'm using Word 2013, so if you're using a different version, you find where it allows you to draw the table. And I've set it up as a hyphen, as a dash line. So I'm going to draw the table. I'm going to put a line between just before the back end of the conditional statement. So I've got some ways to make that to make observations more effectively. Just technically, what they call the first part of conditional statement is it's called an protasis. In the second half, the then part is called the apodes. And so that you'll see that terminology as we go forward, but that's the way we call it. So we're going to look at these more effectively. So if we say, I'm going to work through these with you. If we say that we have fellowship with him, and think about that he's pulling back from verse 3. And so I'm going to actually highlight these and change the colors. So I want to show you this. Change the colors of these to orange. Let's make it that color so you can see it. And then you bring this down. So if we have fellowship with him, so we're going to make that bold. And yet walk in darkness. So the first thing he's done is he's said this first condition is a contrast. These conditions of contrast, what we say and what we practice. Notice that practice, walk in darkness, is in contrast to the propositional statement that God is light. So let's look at this again. The light and the darkness, he's contrasting. We're walking in darkness, but God is light. I'm going to change this as well. I'm going to make this brighter so we can keep track of it. So let's make it cyan, and I'm going to make it italicized as well. Then, if that's the case, then we lie and do not practice the truth. So if we say that, so I'm going to bold that, and I'm going to make that a color too. I'm going to make that, let's make it a darker blue. If we say that we have fellowship with him and walk in darkness, so we're going to walk is different than say. So I'm going to put those actually bold, and I'm going to make that purple. So we'll walk in darkness. So we say that we fellowship and yet walk in darkness. We lie and do not practice the truth. So so that additionally, this idea of a fellowship pulls this notion of from the first 4 verses into tight harmony with this passage. So then the effect in 6b, the second half of the verse, the then part of the conditionals, affect this disconnect. What we say and what we do is that we're liars. We do not practice the truth. Notice the connecting action verbs here: walk and practice. So we're walking and practicing. So I'm gonna make that the same color as the walk. So we're going to say walk and practice is the same. So I'm going to put those in the same line. So if we say we have fellowship with him, yet walk in darkness, then we lie and do not practice the truth. And these are my observations over here. So then verse 7, but contrast again. So we're going to say basically this first the observation I got here is that this contrast sets off what follows immediately with the previous conditional statement. So he's contrasting this conditional statement with this conditional statement with 6 verses 7. If, and again we walk, so I'm going to again change that color to purple. If we walk in the light, so if we walk in the light as he himself is in the light, and again we got light again, so I'm going to highlight that, make that italics, and then change that color to view the same light as here, as he himself is in the light. So he's pulling the whole idea of light forward. So I'll put that over as well with the same level. So what I'm doing is trying to line up. So I'm visual, so I'm trying to line things up. So what do we see that? So then, if we walk in the light as he is the light, then so on that second one, Control C. If you look at the contrast here, notice the completeness of the contrast. Walk in the light versus walk in darkness. So we're walking in darkness versus walking in the light. Let me get rid of that parentheses. As he himself is in the light, so we're going to compare again. He's making a comparison, and I'm going to make this observation as well. Again, these are things I've made before. Comparison. He's comparing us walking the light as Christ is. Our walk is to be the same manner as he walks. This brings to mind the prayer John recorded in John 17, specifically verse 21, that we are invited into relation that Christ and the Father have at the same level of intimacy. Then, so the last part of it, this then is implied. Then we have fellowship, and there's that fellowship again. So I'm going to move that over and make that the same color as the other fellowship. We have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus Christ cleanses us from all sin. So there's two results here: fellowship with one another and the cleansing of the blood of Christ. So you begin to see how these conditional statements are reinforcing the argument that John is making in the first 5 verses. Now we're going to stop here because this is getting a little bit long, and I'm going to finish first the observations on 1 John 1 tomorrow in 8, 9, and 10. And then we'll go forward from there. So if you have any questions, let me know. We'll go forward. Actually, let me make one other thought here before we go forward. I forgot to mention the conclusion on 7. Note this, that John has created a syllogism in this with what he's done here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. He's created a syllogism that God is light, that we walk in the light, therefore we walk in God. We walk in unity to God and one another. So that's one of the syllogisms. That's a syllogism he's put together as we go through 1 through 7. So we'll finish this. We'll go forward from this tomorrow, and hopefully this is helpful to you. If it's not, let me know. If it is, let me know how, and we'll in the comment section below. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.